death rituals in Christianity versus Hinduism. So first I'll be starting with Christianity. Pre-death. If someone's on their deathbed due to an illness, a minister is usually called in and prepares that person for death. The will is written so that person's wishes will be fulfilled after death. Families are allowed to come in and visit, obviously, but in the Christian faith, they may only pray while the minister is in the room with them. Post-death. After the death of a person, the will is read to find out if the person wished to be buried or cremated. The funeral is usually held about a week after the person passes away, and it's either held at a church or a crematorium. So the funeral, the funeral starts with a gathering of friends and family. The priest will come in and open up the service. Next, the readings happen. Psalm 23 is usually read, as long as a couple other verses are. Then it gets into the personal readings. So like the priest will come up and talk about the person personally, and then invites family and friends to also do the same thing. Prayers of thanks and readiness for death happen, and then everyone has a moment of silence to reflect. For the farewell, the priest starts with, let us commend the person's name to the mercy of God, our Maker and Redeemer. And then he says another prayer, and after this, the committal happens. So during the committal is when the body is lowered into the ground, or the curtains are closed during the curtains are closed around the body at the crematorium. While this is happening, the priest says, "We therefore commit his or her body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, in the sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life." Christianity has no set mourning period, so people are allowed to mourn as long as they need to. And the end of life beliefs. Christians do not believe in reincarnation, but they do believe in the resurrection of the soul to eternal life in heaven or hell. Christians also believe in purgatory, which is where the souls who don't go straight to heaven or hell, it's kind of like a little in-between space, and they stay here until it is their time to be judged. Before I start the video, this is just a video kind of like recapping everything I kind of said about Christian funerals.
At a Christian funeral, everybody will gather before the funeral party arrive. Then when the funeral party arrive, they will come into the church in procession with the coffin containing the person brought into the church. Everybody will stand as a sign of respect. We'll have some prayers which will acknowledge the feelings that we have, the feelings that we're bringing to God. We'll often sing hymns which express faith and help people to understand more about what we're doing, about what is happening. An important part of the service, as well as the prayers and the hymns and the readings, is a chance to think about the person and their life. People can tell stories. We'll talk about the good things and particularly the happy things, the good memories, the things that people have valued. And we'll usually have a reading from the Bible which talks about the hope and the faith that we have, so that we can understand more about what God says about death and life. And then people can give thanks to God for the person who's died. And then we'll ask for help, we'll ask for God's peace. And as the coffin leaves, we'll say goodbye. I think the thing that makes a Christian funeral different is the element of faith. As Christians, we believe that death is not the end of life. Jesus said, "I'm the resurrection and the life." And through trust in me, people can come to God. So our life continues. That's what we believe as Christians. Now that transforms the way that we approach a funeral, because we will pray, we will bring our thoughts and feelings to God. We're not just dealing with people's emotions and trying to move them to a better place in the way that they're feeling. We're able to offer people hope, to offer them words from the Bible which talk about life and death and God's love and faithfulness. And we're able to bring all of our thoughts and feelings to a God who cares for us as well as for the person who's died. So it gives a very different perspective, I feel, to the way that we approach a funeral.
Next is Hinduism. In Hinduism, when a person dies, they're usually washed with ghee, honey, milk, and yogurt. They place essential oils on their head. It's usually turmeric for females and sandalwood for males. And they place their hands in like a prayer position. Contemporary Hindus are dressed up in like fancy or smart clothes, and like traditional Hindus are wrapped in white, like a white sheet. They usually place like a lamp near their head and sprinkle water on their body. The funeral happens 24 hours after the death, unlike Christianity, where it's a week after. Um, they don't embalm, unlike Christians, since it takes about a week. We embalm. Hindus, since it's such a short period, like 24 hours, they don't feel like it's necessary. Their funerals are always open casket, and they are expected to dress in white. Dark colors are considered disrespectful to them. And the priest and senior members, they conduct the cremation ceremony known as Makangi. Um, During this, the it's kind of like a little pyre, and they light the body on fire to release their soul. The senior family member is usually like the oldest son. Um, in Hinduism, the bodies are always cremated. The reason they're cremated is because the that's the way of the soul releasing from the body and being able to be reborn into another to continue the cycle until they reach Brahma. The day after the cremation, the ashes are pushed into the river, which leads into the Ganges. I think that's what the river's called. Um, or it's usually a place of importance to the deceased person. Hindus believe in reincarnation, as I said, and not resurrection. Their soul is immortal and is born again, and the cycle will continue until they reach Brahma. This is a video on the Hindu death ritual. It is graphic, so viewer discretion is advised.
Hindu death rituals. There is one thing that is certain in this life. Eventually, we must all die. This story takes place at the Ramghat cremation grounds outside of Kathmandu in Nepal. Cremations in Nepal are treated quite casually, and spectators are always present. As many as 7 cremations take place here at any given time. Cremation is a ritual designed to release the soul from its earthly existence. It is believed that the soul, or astral body, will linger as long as the physical body remains. If the body is not cremated, the soul remains nearby for days, months, or even years. An untouchable caste who tend funeral pyres. The only bodies not cremated are unnamed babies and the lowliest of castes. When ready, the relatives place the body carefully on the pyre. The sons circle the pyre and say farewell. Then the chief mourner, usually the eldest son, takes the flaming holy kasha from the dome and circles the pyre one last time. He sets the pyre alight by touching the flame to the mouth. Dom then arranges the final elements to ensure a sustained burn. Once burning steadily, the mourners walk away without looking back. The dead is now an offering to Agni, the fire, and will be conveyed to heaven in the flames. After the cremation, the ashes are thrown into the Bagmati River and eventually carried downstream to the holy Ganges and salvation.